Ranana. L'chu neranena l'Adonai, nari alitzur yishenu, nikan mafana b'torah, bizmiro naria lo, nikan mafana b'torah, bizmiro naria lo, kiel gadol Adonai, Umelech gadol al kol Elohim asher beyado mekerei aretz v'toaf otarim lo asher beyado mekerei aretz v'toaf otarim lo. On page 12 on the English side. For Adonai is our God, and we are God's flock, sheep in God's caring hands. If only you would listen today to God's voice and not become hard-hearted like the people at Merivah, like that time at Massah in the desert, when your ancestors tried me and tested me, though they had seen what I had wrought. For 40 years I was troubled by that generation, and I said, these are people whose hearts have gone astray. They do not know my way. So in anger I swore they would not enter. 40 shana kut v'dov ramar toy levavhem v'hem l'yidirachai asher nishbati v'api im yavon el menuchati. On page 16. Worshippers of idols be shamed, for praising false gods. All that is deemed supreme bow before God. Zion hears of it and rejoices. The cities of Judah exult as you, Adonai, pass judgment. You, Adonai, are above all that is earthly, exalted over all that is worshipped as divine. Those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of the sinful. Light is sown for the righteous, and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name. This psalm, in contrast to the first psalm, has a different conclusion. That opening psalm, L'chu neranena, is reminding us that our ancestors were wandering and they were hard-hearted. But this psalm is already presuming, taking for granted, and you know we can't take anything for granted, that we are all righteous. Synagogues all over the world are beginning in this exact same pattern, from an awareness of every once in a while we might stumble, we might lose our way. But generally speaking, the overarching Jewish tradition is one of optimism, viewing us as righteous, as good, as people with great capacity for nobility and honor and justice. It's in the Siddur. We just said it. Turning to the song sheets, we have a number of song sheets. This one begins with Hebrew at the top of the page. It's Melech Rachaman. Melech Rachaman, Rachem Aleinu, Tovu Meitiv Hidrash Lanu, Tovu Meitiv Hidrash Lanu, Shuva Aleinu B'Harmon Rachamecha, return to us with your manifold mercy. Again, the confidence here is that God and we are very close. Melech Rachaman, this is a song by a woman known as Neshama Karlbach.
Melech Rachman, Rachem Aleinu, רחם עלינו, טוב ומיטיב יידרש לנו, טוב ומיטיב יידרש לנו, שוב עלינו בהמון רחמך, שוב עלינו בהמון רחמך, מלך רחמן רחם עלינו, מלך רחמן רחם עלינו, טוב ומיטיב יידרש לנו, טוב ומיטיב יידרש לנו, ושוב עלינו בהמון רחמך, שוב עלינו בהמון רחמך.
Turn to page 19 in just a moment. Page 19, a psalm on the English side, page 19. The top of page 19. Adonai reigns, nations tremble. The one enthroned amidst the Kruvim makes the world quake. Adonai is great in Sion above all nations. They shall acknowledge your name, saying, Great, awe-inspiring, Holy One. A sovereign strength lies in the love of justice, and you forge the paths of truth, judging Jacob righteously and justly. Exalt Adonai, our God. Bow down before God, the Holy One. Look at the next to the last stanza. We just read it. A sovereign strength lies in the love of justice. Strength lies in the love for justice. Our world needs love. Our world needs justice. So we're incorporating an English song. It's in the song sheets. And in a moment, Gadiel is going to play this melody. The lyrics are very familiar, but they are in the song sheet. The song is by Jackie DeShannon. What the world needs now is love.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Lord, we don't need another mountain. There are mountains and hillsides enough to climb. There are oceans and rivers enough to cross, enough to last till the end of time. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Lord, we don't need another meadow. There are cornfields and wheat fields enough to grow. There are sunbeams and moonbeams enough to shine. Oh, listen, Lord, if you want to know. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, oh, but just for everyone.
And now on page 21. Mizmor leDavid, Havulatanai bnei Elim, Havulatanai kavod va'oz, Havulatanai kavod Shimon, Hishtachavulatanai b'hadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim el kavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai b'hadar, Kol Adonai shaver arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et arsei Alvanon. Vayakidem kamo egel, Lebanon v'Sirion kamo v'Reimim. Kol Adonai chotzei v'havotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kodesh, Kol Adonai יכל אל היולות, ויחשוף יערות, ובהיכלו כולו אומר כבוד. אדוני למבול ישב, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. And on page 23, the first three stanzas, on page 25, the last three stanzas of Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmiyanu el hamyuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad, l'shem otif eret v'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, Ki mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, Kumitzei mitoch hafecha, Rav lach shevet b'yem mekabacha, V'hu yachamol alayechem la. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. V'hayu lim shisa shosayich, V'rachaku kol mival ayich, Yasis alayich Elohayich, Kimsos chatan al kala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Yamin u'smol tifrotzi, v'yet Adonai taritzi, al yad ish ben partzi, v'nismecha v'nagila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'v'tzahala, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Remaining standing for just a moment, please. Remaining standing for just a moment. I want to show you 2 pages and explain something. So if you're looking at page 27, which we'll be doing in just a moment, but not right now, it's the Psalm for Shabbos. And if you're looking at page number 30, you see the Mourner's Kaddish. Now, officially, the Psalm for Shabbat and the Mourner's Kaddish here demarcate 2 different services. The service that we just concluded or about to conclude is the Kabbalat Shabbat, and officially it's separate from the evening service, which will begin in just a moment with the Borchu. We're actually at 2 different points in time from the Jewish mindset. We're not yet in Shabbos, but in 3 minutes we'll be in Shabbos. And I say this for 2 reasons. First, I know there's some of us who are saying Kaddish, Mourner's Kaddish, so this is an opportunity for those who are still standing to, if so inclined, remain standing for Kaddish And we'll do Mourner's Kaddish in just a minute, in a few minutes at the end of the service. That's item 1. And item 2 I'll explain in just a minute. So those who are now saying Kaddish are invited to remain standing. Kaddish is on page number 30. And then we'll come back to the rest of the service. But Mourner's Kaddish, for those reciting Kaddish, on page number 30. And you're saying Kaddish for Anna Lee. And remembering Goldie as well. Mourner's Kaddish on page 30. And I'll mention the names at the end of the service. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, amen. Be'olma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chaye chon uv'yome chon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'zaman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehi shemei rabba mivorach le'olam ololmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitdaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran ba'alma v'imaru amen. Yehi Shaloma Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imeru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. And you're welcome to be seated at this time. And now I want to make another little point. In a few minutes, when Shabbos begins, it's going to be the second of the Hebrew month known as Elul. But until Shabbos begins, it's still the first day of Elul. And why does that matter? I'm glad you asked. Because there's a tradition going back, I'm not sure how long ago, but a long, long time, that starting on the first day of Elul, we blow the shofar 1 tekiah every single day, leading up to Rosh Hashanah. But we do not blow shofar on Shabbos, as you know. So as soon as we shift into the Shabbos service, we won't be using this, which is why I'm making this break between the Kabbalah, the preliminary service, and the actual main service. So thinking about the next month. We're thinking about the next year. We're hoping for sweetness. We're working towards sweetness and shalom and caring and compassion and humanity and forgiveness. It's a tall order, which is why we've structured within our minds this month as a gradual preparation for first Rosh Hashanah and then Yom Kippur. And one of the beginning steps is to listen. And we're accustomed, because we say the Shema all the time, to listen to words. Maybe one of the purposes of the shofar is to open our ears to listen to sounds that may be different than words. And now we turn to the Psalm for Shabbat, and in a moment we'll begin on page number 27. And first, Gadiel has a melody, which will be for the first few lines, and then we'll continue the Psalm on the English side, but we'll begin. This is the Psalm for Shabbat on page number 27.
Mizmor Shir Le'Yom HaShabbat.
It's good to say thank you. That's Tov. gladden me with your deeds, Adonai, and I shall sing of your handiwork. How wonderful are your works, Adonai, how subtle your designs. The arrogant do not understand, the fool does not comprehend this. The wicked flourish like grass, and every evildoer blossoms, only to be destroyed forever. But you, Adonai, are exalted for all time. Surely your enemies, Adonai, surely your enemies will perish. All who commit evil will be scattered. As a wild bull raises up its horn, you raised my head high, anointed it with fresh oil. As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear. The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai. They flourish in our God's courtyards. In old age they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming, Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no flaw. Oh, Yinuvum Beseba, Disheni, Vananimiu, Lagi Kishanoi, Turvlavlatabo. And now turning to the evening service of the Baruch Hu on page 39b. Those so comfortable rising are invited to rise on page 39b for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai Amavorach. Baruch Adonai Amavorach Le'olam V'ed. We are seated. Baruch Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, you completed your work of creation on the seventh day, calling this day from one evening to the next the holy Shabbat, and gave this day of rest in all its holiness to your people Israel, creator of day and night, rolling light before darkness and darkness from light, making day pass and bringing on the evening, distinguishing day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. U'ma'avir yom u'mei v'layla, u'ma'avdil ben yom u'ben layla, Adonai Tzvaot Shemo, El Chai v'Kayam, Tamidim lo chalen olam v'ed, Baruch Ata Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. And we have another song sheet. It's Craig Taubman, and on the top of the page, it's entitled Ahavat Olam Kihem Chayenu. Ahavat Olam could be interpreted as meaning two different things. We're offering a melody, as you might say, kind of a backdrop against the major prayer, which is on page 40. Ahavat Olam can mean love of the universe, loving the universe, love of the universe. But it can also mean eternal love. For universe, eternity, infinity, they're all the same. So is it love of the universe, namely that God created the universe and God loves it and we are part of it and therefore we are the objects of God's love? Or is it eternal love, no limits to the love of God and Halavai for all of us within the world? So this song, Kihem Chayenu.
Day and night, show us the way, teaching us to number our days. when we rise, when we lie down, Ahavat Olam, ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, uvahem negeh, yomam v'layla. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, Uvahem negeh, yomam v'layla, ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, uvahem negeh, yomam v'layla. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu.
In the narrow sense, Ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, is referring to the words of the prayer book and Torah. But in the broad sense, the importance of love, Ki hem chayenu, the importance of love, that's our lives. Ve'orech yameinu. And the length of our days is based upon the importance of love. V'avatachal tasir mimenu li'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael. Page 41. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shem kol malchut olam ben. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, B'chol levavcha, u'b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol me'odecha, ve'hayu advarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, b'shivtecha b'beitecha, u'v'lektecha v'derech, u'v'shachbecha v'kumecha, u'kishartam liot al yadecha, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. A moment of silence, perhaps on page 42. Adonai Elohechem emet. We need to remember every single day that the central point within our prayer system is love of God. And so now turning to the other song sheet, Love Your God, also by Craig Taubman. Love Your God on the other song sheet. It's number 1, Love Your God.
Love your God with all your heart, with all your strength, with all your soul. Love your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. Where you live, where you lie, where you stumble, where you thrive, with all you speak, with all you know, with all your soul.
the bottom of page 44. Mi chamocha b'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tilot ol seifele, malchutecha ra'ovanecha, bokeh yam lifnei Moshe, zeli anu v'yamro, Adonai yimloch la'olam va'ed, v'nemar, kifad Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miyad chazai mimenu, Baruch ata Adonai, Gal Yisrael. On page 45, on the English side, when you see, whether on the Hebrew side or the English side, a little arrow, in some Siddurim, it's an asterisk or a little indicator. It's indicating the Chatimah. The Chatimah literally is the signature. And the signature of a prayer is the most important part. We could call it in Yiddish the kishkas. This is the kishkas of the Hashkivenu right here. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people of Israel, and over Jerusalem. Top of page 46. V'shamro b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti la'olam oti la'olam oti le'olam v'shamro b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz v'shamro b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash shavat vayinafash shavat vayinafash v'shamro b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba b'alma divrach v'temelchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael Bagala, Uvisman Kariv, Vimero, Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabba Mevarach, La'alam Yolmei Olmaya, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpar, V'yitma, V'yinaseh, V'yidhadar, V'yitale, V'yithalal, Shemei Dekudesha, Brechu, Leila, Min Kol Birchata, V'shirata, Tush Bechata, V'nechemata, Da'amiran Ba'alma, V'imeru, Amen. We rise now the Salat Amida, offered in quiet, pages 47 to 52, or an opportunity for a few people to offer our own private prayer. We build the privacy of our prayer within the community. So the traditional text or private prayer, but in silence. I have an older brother named Ron, married to Stacy. I'm the middle. And my younger sister, Deb, is married to Jerry. And about 6 weeks ago, our family was getting very excited because Jerry, after 30 years of practicing law, was moving in a different career path. And he was about to be sworn in as a county judge in LA County. And he'd been aspiring to be a judge for quite some time. He was very excited. And he left the law practice that he'd been building for decades with his partners. And we began to make plans because people from all over the country were flying in for the swearing-in ceremony, and it was a Friday, so we were going to have a Shabbos together and a Shabbos morning together, and lunches and brunches and meals and gatherings, because how often does a member of the family have the opportunity and the privilege to be sworn in as a practicing judge? And we were talking on various occasions, the nieces and nephews, and I was on the phone at one point, and people began asking, what's the ceremony like, and will you be sworn in a Bible? And I began thinking, gosh, is the Bible open or closed, and which passage? And my nieces and nephews were saying, which is it going to be, a Chumash, is it going to be a Tanakh? Which one should we use? Should we use one of ours or one of Zadie's of blessed memory? What should we do? And I was thinking, gosh, in Devarim and Deuteronomy, there's this great passage. It's Shoftim, which is tomorrow's Torah reading, about having judges in your community. And then Jerry kind of popped the balloon by saying, we don't do that. We don't swear on a Bible. They swear or affirm, but they don't use a book. No hand on a book. Hand up, but no hand on the book. Okay, all right, but it's LA, but still, we're going to go out. We're going to be excited and see the swearing in of Jerry. And then things changed drastically, and the plans to fly across the country for a simcha changed, and most of us began flying across the country as Mom weakened, and then we prepared for a funeral. And in the midst of all the turmoil, Jerry's father in Las Vegas was also hospitalized. And so Jerry went to Vegas first and then came to North Carolina. And the presiding judge of Los Angeles County, who oversees 100 judges within 100 courtrooms, reached out to Jerry personally. And she offered to swear him in a private ceremony because she's acquainted with him, and he was very touched. And so my sister, Deb, and Jerry were in the chambers of the presiding judge of Los Angeles County. And then he got in the car, drove to see his father in the hospital, and then flew across the country for a family funeral. And prior to that turmoil, Jerry and I had a couple of conversations, exciting, about what does it mean to be a judge? And I said, Jerry, you've been an attorney for your entire adult life, and you've stood before a judge and you've argued your case. What's going to happen when colleagues walk in to that courtroom and you're a judge? How are you going to divorce yourself from all of your associations and relationships with colleagues whom you've known for years? And he said, I'll have to, because that's what a judge does. A judge has to be impartial, unbiased. And I haven't been clear-minded enough the past few days, weeks, to talk to Jerry to see how it's going. I hope to at some point in the near future, because being a judge, what a privilege, what a responsibility, what an opportunity to navigate that balancing act between two, sometimes more than two sides of an opinion for the sake of justice in the community. It's an obligation and it's a privilege. And in my head, I'm returning to this week's Torah reading, which is a medium-lengthy Torah reading, and it has quite a number of mitzvot associated with setting up a judicial system. Moses says to the people of Israel, when you walk into the promised land, one of the first things you have to do, besides make sure you pay the bills and set up your boundary markers and prepare for water and food and animals and so on, is you have to establish courts of law, and you have to administer fair and balanced justice for all the people within your communities. And there's a word that's never translated. It's never translated well. And all the translations that I've seen of the opening phrase of this week's Torah reading, I've never seen it translated well. It says, you will establish judges, you will appoint judges, you will place judges, you will dedicate judges, you will inaugurate judges. But the Hebrew is titain, which means you'll give to yourself judges. Having a judicial system for everybody that's fair and balanced and impartial is a gift. It's a gift for the entire society. And I wonder what it means to have those two parties, or sometimes more, right before you, and you're weighing the evidence, you're weighing the law, and you're weighing the needs. And how do you go forward? By seeing yourself as a necessary gift. And I want to go in one other direction and then conclude. And there are many mitzvot in this week's Torah reading, but another one of the mitzvot is to walk in the ways of God. And James and Alicia called me today and they said, Rabbi, what does it mean to walk in the ways of God? How do we know what that means, to walk in the ways of God? How do we know what God's ways are? And I cheated because I know one small element, but many also who've studied Torah know this element. What is the most frequently repeated mitzvah in the Torah?
Love your neighbor. Take care of widows, orphans, and strangers.
To care for widows, orphans, and strangers. Think about that. Widows, orphans, and strangers. And why? It doesn't say why, but I'm going to guess. Because in the days of the Bible, if you were a widow, you were all by yourself, and you had no support. If you were an orphan, you were potentially all by yourself, and you had no one to look out for you. If you were a stranger, as we say in Mobile or Mississippi, y'all not from around here, are you? And sometimes we say that with a little bit of humor, but sometimes it's not said with humor. When you're a stranger, you've got no support. So when you add up widow, orphan, and stranger, it means that there's somebody out there who has nobody looking out for him or her. And I think what it means to walk in God's way is to recognize that there's somebody out there who's entirely alone and has nobody going to bat for him or her. And that's why within Jewish life, within the Torah, we have to go to bat for somebody who has no other advocate or ally. So in answering James and Alicia's questions today, what does it mean to walk in God's way? It's to look around and see who has nobody else for him or for her. And if somebody has no ally and is entirely alone, then for us to walk in God's way means to pay attention to that person in some way. And that principle is in the Torah reading, which also demands that we care enough to set up a judicial system, to give each other a judicial system. So what would I say to a judge? I'd say that you have to remember that the people are going to be walking into your courtroom that have nobody else. Don't break the law, chas v'shalom. Don't bend the law, but bring justice and mercy and compassion into the world. This world needs that, and that would be our gift.
Do you know what is also in the Christian Bibles about caring for a stranger or looking out for a stranger?
Well, since the Hebrew Bible has been incorporated into the Christian Bible, then obviously the passages that we have all over the Hebrew Bible would appear in the Christian Bible as well.
How about the Muslim?
I don't know.
You might know.
We rise now, the Aleinu, on page number 56. Page 56, Aleinu. Aleinu leshabeach laton hakol latet gedula liotzer breishit shelo asanek goye haratzot velo samanu kemishpachot adama shelo sam chelkenu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu noteh shamayim yosei haaretz umoshav yekaro bashamayim mimal ushchinat zo begavhei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Einod, Emet Malkeinu Efes Zulatom, Kakatu B'Torato, V'yadato Hayom V'ashevota Elevavecha, Ki Adonai Hu Elohim, Bashamayim Mimal, V'al Haaretz, V'al Haaretz, Mitachat Enod, Enod. Kakatu b'Toratecha, Adonai yimloch la'olam va'ed, v'nemar, v'haya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yihyeh Adonai echad, Shema Echad. And the Mourner's Kaddish on page number 58. And on this Shabbat, we remember with great love Dora L. Stark, Marvin Olinsky, Rini Block, Sid Marcus, Sarah Liebeskind, Belle W. Strinsky, Aaron Fischler, Harry Zaremba, Minnie Maisel, Melvin Weber, Annalie Reddish, Fred Frisch, Thelma Carfiol Miller, Sandy Gerwich, Goldie Reddish, Blanche Feynman, Rose Schwartz, Tema Silberman. Are there any other names to mention? Joan Berger, Marion G. Birkin, Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabo. Amen. Ba'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute b'chaye chon u'vyome chon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imeru amen. Yahei Shemei Rabo Mivarach La'olam Olalmei Olmaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitaleh V'yithalal Shemei Dekudesha B'rechu La'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran ba'olma v'imeru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru amen. Oseh shalom bimramav hu ya'aseh shalom oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom means there's already peace, bimromav, in God's own heavens. But we need peace here. That's Ya'aseh Shalom. Someday there will be peace here, Aleinu, for us, for Yal Kol Yisrael, and for everybody else. Maybe it's that last little phrase that's at the heart of why we say Kaddish. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Hey ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, hey ya'aseh shalom, Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imro amen. Good Shabbos, a good week, a good month, a good year. We'll make Kiddush and Motzi in just a minute. To all those joining in from home, we hope to see you in the near future here. May God bless you. Know that you are loved and you're part of our community, part of our lives. We do want to see you in person. Until that point, Leach Road, may God bless you.